Hey, hello, Allison, and hello, Lane. So today we're here and we're going to talk about the infrastructures of Metaverse. So I believe we will start with a small introduction of myself and my projects, and then we will go to Allison and also Lane later. So with Mixed Marvel, our co-founders all have many years of experience in the traditional gaming industries, and they've participated in the construction and development of applications such as Assassin's Creed, Princess of Persia, and etc. So after leaving Ubisoft and then forming their own indie game companies and publishing some products, the products have also been ranked top on 61 countries and regions. So later on 2018, Mixed Marvel also developed its own decentralized application that is called Hyper Dragons, and that got us like 1 million of registered users. So in the process, we also found out that there are a lot of problems with the blockchain infrastructures, and that's why we're publishing Rangers Protocol, which is a blockchain infrastructure that professionally supports complex applications and also NFT cross-chains. So Rangers Protocol currently is invested by Pantera, Framework, Alameda Research, and more. And we're looking forward to our mainnet launch by the end of the year. So, Alison, would you also like to go ahead to introduce yourself a bit and also your project?
Awesome. Yeah. Hey, guys. Thanks so much for having us here today. My name is Allison. I'm part of the founding team at Genies and also oversee global partnerships for how we interact with brands and IP, bringing them into our ecosystem. For Genies, really at our core, we're an avatar technology company. We see avatars as a tool for expression and really the identity layer of the metaverse. Over the past few years, we've spent time representing, 99% of the celebrity avatar market share, allowing celebrity tastemakers, artists, athletes, influencers, and more to really leverage their second identity for all of their virtual needs. And so now we're looking to bring our avatars to the everyday user consumer in the coming months as we launch our Genies app, which will allow anyone to create their own 3D genie and then use that avatar across their favorite apps and platforms and provide them with the tools to build their identity in the virtual world. We'll also be launching our avatar wearable NFT marketplace in partnership with Dapper Labs later this winter, where fans and consumers will be able to collect, own, and trade fantastical avatar wearables from the most iconic celebrities, brands, and IP, providing real utility to these NFT assets, where these digital assets can be used to customize and wear on people's own digital avatar.
Thank you very much. Let's go to Lane.
Hi, folks. Thanks so much for having me. I'm Lane. I'm the product lead for Flow. I was on the co-founding team for CryptoKitties back in 2017. That was when we had our first foray into seeing what the metaverse held for all of us and how incredible it would be when people started to compose on these different standards. And so we formed Dapper Labs as a result of that. Dapper Labs is all about bringing the experiences of crypto to people in ways that they can internalize and experience through culture and entertainment. And we're doing that with partners like Genies, other partners that we'll mention later. And Flow, the blockchain, is the product that I'm currently the lead for building out, because following CryptoKitties, we saw that Ethereum wasn't going to scale to our practical purposes of consumer applications, at least not with the complex state that you're also referring to on Rangers Protocol. And so Flow was designed really to take advantage of and ensure that other people could take advantage of a really large shared state where the metaverse could live and grow. Thanks so much for having me.
Great. So it is nice that you have introduced yourselves and also your projects a little bit here to our live audience. And let's get to the first question, as our time is quite limited today. So the first one would be a quite general one. So I would like to get your thoughts on what are your opinions on the current metaverse trend, and also what do you consider compose the popularity of metaverse? Let's continue to start with Allison.
Awesome. Yeah, so I think the metaverse really is the interconnectivity of the physical and digital worlds. I think the pandemic even really expedited, the time that people are spending within the digital world. They're spending more and more time connecting digitally and building online communities and identities as they explore the virtual world even more. And so I think, we see avatars and virtual worlds and decentralized technologies like NFT and blockchain allowing for more of that interconnectivity across the metaverse. And as these technologies have seen more and more kind of mainstream adoption, I think we're also seeing a very rapid growth and innovation with these types of technologies as well. Being able to leverage these in completely new ways and how people are engaging, digitally and online. And I think they all play into a more connected, really truly authentic, expressive world and how people are representing themselves online and connect with each other on even a global level that you maybe couldn't do in the physical world. And with Genies, we hope to power that identity layer for people, but that's kind of a good synopsis, I think, of metaverse interconnectivity.
Yeah, I love what Allison mentioned about interconnectivity because that's definitely what we're seeing with the metaverse as well. It's really showcasing what's possible and powerful about having digital assets combined with social economies, and the fact that exists online and then can be bridged online to offline really is building up this richness of what happens when standards are brought together and are enforced across different blockchains and different networks for people to really build out the richness of experience that you wouldn't otherwise have if it was a closed economy or if it was a game hosted on traditional servers or an asset for that matter. And we're definitely seeing that mechanic for in-game economies to be built out and really distribute digital assets is really compelling to folks. And as Allison was saying, that seeing it emerge in digital economies is something wholly new, and it's really cool to see that people are both bridging the gaps and making things newly possible that wouldn't have been there before.
Yes, totally correct, because we actually can see that the future metaverse is a very good means to connect people worldwide and for them to interact together. However, there are also a lot of problems that need to be solved on the infrastructure side, right? So, for example, Rangers Protocol is also trying to provide real-time confirmation and also to have high TPS in order to support this kind of behavior that is currently not very much solvable by blockchain structures, right? So I would also like to get Lane's opinion on this, especially with Dapper Labs' development of Flow. We would like to see what do you think are the most important problems an infrastructure should solve, and also what kind of means you're taking to solve these issues.
Yeah, great question. We thought a lot about what the infrastructure needed to solve and being confronted with that reality of really wanting to ship large production applications and not being able to made us come up with a pretty frank list of what needed to happen. So I love what you mentioned about finality of transactions. That's definitely a real-time finality or close to is a really big deal. So for Flow, we use a proof of stake consensus algorithm called Hot Stuff. And that gives us a really short finality times, orders of single seconds, which is great. You're not dealing with reorgs or anything like that. TPS, definitely really critical. You have to have the throughput. That was another really significant motivator of the architecture of Flow. When looking at other protocols, the level that they were addressing scale just wasn't going to scale to the order of magnitude that we felt was coming about with mainstream applications. And so that was how the process of separating the different concerns of coming to consensus on the state of the world and then executing those transactions were divided into two and among different roles in Flow that keep the network in check. So those are the volume of transactions and finality are definitely really important points. The other things that we've thought a lot about and that we designed Flow around were definitely related to onboarding. It's hard to get people into crypto, and so Dapper Wallet was our flagship product to make it easier for folks to just feel comfortable experiencing crypto for the first time without feeling like they were immediately being thrown into some crazy KYC process. And we really wanted to normalize that for the ecosystem and bring fiat on and off ramps to everyone in the ecosystem, because there's enough newness here without making people figure out how to swap for different crypto to buy the assets they're interested in. And that also sort of relates to transaction fees. Lots of times the initial onboarding experience, you're faced with concepts like gas and paying for fees that are sometimes way more expensive than the asset that you're trying to just sort of like dabble in. And so it was really important to us that Flow, the blockchain, not require payers of those fees to be the end user, and that it wasn't the user that was confronted with those things, that the DApp could pay them on their behalf instead, to ensure the security of the system and ensure that it was easy for the DApp to still pay the fees, but without imposing it on the user and making them sort of figure out that nuance. And then the last really important part of addressing infrastructure really is that composability and creating the state space for applications and the games on top of them and the communities that evolve around them to really develop on the blockchain that the experience is built on. And so that was a pretty significant motivator for us to architect Flow the way that we did, and composability is going to continue to be the way that the metaverse is really enabled on that ecosystem.
Yes, very nice to see that. So we actually can see that there has been actually a lot of development in the blockchain infrastructure, and I believe it would also bring a revolution on the digital ownerships. So would you guys mind also to reveal your opinions on digital ownerships and how it affects people's lives, and then in what means it can be established, and also why it is very important for people to have ownerships while they have NFTs. Let's start with Allison.
Yeah, definitely. You know, it's funny, I heard in a panel the other day, but we almost take for granted ownership in the physical world. We've never truly had ownership of assets in the digital world. And now with NFT technology, people are able to have true ownership of these digital assets and value over these assets. And, you know, I think we're really starting to see the beginning of this technology being leveraged, but it's really just the beginning. And over time, it will become more and more fundamental. You know, I think a really good example to kind of take a look at as far as digital ownership goes is, you know, relating back to avatars and digital goods or skins. These aren't new things. They've been around for 20, 30 plus years, even with, you know, virtual worlds or video games like Sims or Second Life or Fortnite. But these assets that people buy and collect in these virtual worlds, they've never been able to be truly owned by that end user. So leveraging NFT technology for these kinds of assets, like what we're building with our, you know, avatar wearable NFT marketplace, really gives that true ownership and value for the end user, while also providing utility for these digital assets. And then I think another, you know, really unique aspect of the ownership of these digital assets is that we're also seeing that they can unlock other experiences. So whether that's community access that we're seeing with a lot of, you know, the 10K projects that are coming out, or other asset classes, and even physical experiences and goods, I think is a really great opportunity for us to continue to innovate in this space and how you know, people are leveraging this technology to provide digital ownership.
Yeah, but I would really second everything Allison said, and maybe add that we, what's really cool about digital assets, I think, is that we really are seeing them emerge as an asset class in their own right, and it's because of that digital ownership. It's the fact that people have, like as Allison was pointing out, we really haven't had this before in the digital world, but now you can defend your right over something that exists on the internet and in a way that you weren't able to before. And that scarcity, the status of being able to do that, being able to identify and articulate that you as an individual are the owner of that thing on the shared global state that everyone is accessing and transacting with, and that there's now this significant marketplace globally that's online, is it's really giving people access to both assets that they didn't have any exposure to before, and also communities and marketplaces that they probably wouldn't have otherwise been able to engage with. And that, I think, really is like the marking factors that this is a new asset class. We are seeing this as an entirely new medium for people to hold value in, and that's really incredible. And it's made possible by that idea at its very core of true ownership. And that was something that we saw definitely when people started collecting CryptoKitties initially. They were excited about true ownership. We're seeing it again with NBA Top Shots. The moments that people are holding, they really own that moment of the game. They get to say that they own part of the game, and that is really cool. So I think the true ownership is absolutely foundational to how all of this is going to work, and it's made possible by these decentralized public blockchains the assets are built on. We're all agreeing that we're going to redeem those assets in perpetuity, regardless of whether or not Genies or Dapper Labs or Mixed Marble continue to exist in the future, and that's really cool.
Yeah, so it's very good that Lane also mentioned about touching the mass and then get everyone on board with a lower cost, providing them with a lot of scenarios to interact with each other. So we actually see that you guys have also cooperated with many noble brands to attract more mass users to enter the blockchain world. For example, like NBA and Gucci and celebrities like Justin Bieber. So I believe that many of the audience right here would also care to know your selection scenario of how you select all these big brands and names. Let's also start with Allison.
Cool. Yeah, so for Genies, we've been working with thousands of celebrities over the past few years. Like you said, we now have official partnerships with WMG, the 3 major leagues here in the US, Gucci, Bandai Namco, as well as more that we'll be announcing over the coming months. We really see brands and celebrity tastemakers as players in the digital ecosystem, just like they are in the physical world. But I think it's important to note that they can't just look at the space as another advertisement or sponsorship type opportunity. They really have to reimagine how their brand exists authentically in the metaverse and decentralized world, and almost be an active participant in building that innovation with these communities, providing true value for people. For us, when we look for brands or talent that we want to partner with, we're really looking for partners that are forward leaning into our vision of avatars and authentic identity, and those that want to actually innovate with us in the space and are kind of willing to push the boundaries of what's possible in the physical world, because that's what we're able to do in the digital world. We're also looking to bring our technology and even the power of NFTs to culture and Gen Z and more mainstream audiences. For us at Genies, that's really kind of like our ultimate, target consumer. And even part of the reason why we went with Flow and Dapper Labs as our partner for our marketplace is building a very accessible, approachable marketplace to really open up mainstream adoption for NFT technology for users. So that kind of gives a little insight on why we choose the partners that we go with and how we're kind of expanding that as well.
Yeah, I can add to this one as well. I would really second the picking partners that are pushing the boundaries. For us, it's really about folks that want to see the relationship with their users really be richer and in some ways challenged and changed, changing the dynamic of who is keeping value in this interaction, who's deciding what something's worth, who's setting the pricing. These brands are being really bold about letting people make statements about stuff like that, but it's also, I think, really rewarding them with this richness of community that forms around their brand and the assets that they're willing to put out. And it gives a chance for their brand really to take on a life of its own that does have a more community-oriented element, and that really starts to take on the life of the people who are using it rather than just the brand that's putting it out. And so we definitely pick partners that equally are forward-thinking, are willing to change and challenge and innovate the relationship with their customers, and who are just excited about really pushing the boundaries of what's possible and sharing emerging concepts and technologies with people that can be applied to a lot of really important problems, but can also be applied to fun first, and they can be applied to culture and entertainment, where it's easy for people to experience these things before they're confronted with changing the way that they do all of their payments, and before they are contemplating sort of using crypto for the rest of their life. it's sort of like an initial foray, and so they really understand the impact and the power of this industry, and they're excited that they get to be sort of the on-ramp for a lot of different folks in the world.
Okay, thank you very much, Lane. So we've already talked about brands trying to innovate and then coming into the blockchain world and then continuing the revolution, bringing themselves to a new image to all the audiences and then modifying themselves a bit. So with the Rangers protocol, actually, later on, we're going to be publishing a new marketing campaign where we're going to ask many designers to come into the community and co-create NFTs and then also publishing the finalized NFTs onto our mainnet later. So we've talked about community celebrity-based avatars, and then we also have a lot of like native avatars that are created on the blockchain itself. So I think we would wonder, what do you guys think will be the more popular one later on? Native ones or celebrity-driven ones? Allison?
Yeah, so, I think it's funny with Genies, our vision really is bringing digital identities to the masses, to provide identities for anyone to leverage across the digital landscape. And that's really for us has started with celebrity tastemakers as our primary user base over the past few years, kind of leading the charge over the past few years, building the interest and the adoption for their own fans and communities, which I think we'll continue to see grow as more and more people are getting involved in the avatar or NFT space and building out these digital identities. And later this year, as we look to launch our consumer product in the coming months, and then even develop our technology over time, we'll be looking to provide consumers or the everyday person with similar tools and capabilities as we have given celebrity talent. Really allowing anyone to build this digital identity that they fall in love with, that truly expresses who they are in the digital landscape. And then, eventually we're looking to even provide the tools to allow people to monetize that identity and almost build an IP or a brand around this identity that they're, using across the digital landscape, by giving them the tools to produce the same, avatar wearables or content creation that we are giving for our celebrity talent as well. So that's kind of how we see, the interplay with it. I think starting with the bigger tastemakers in the world really does give a landing page for people to kind of understand and wrap their heads around how they might be able to enter the space, how they can interact digitally. But I really do think it's something for the masses that is going to only continue to evolve as the technology innovates as well.
Okay, so Lane, would you like to also share your opinion on this a bit?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, thank you. I think Allison really nailed it with starting with celebrities. Like, they will always be the tastemakers and the people who showcase what's interesting and what's cool, and they'll be the ones that like really, I think, legitimize the space, and that will always make headlines. But there's definitely room for the more community-driven ones as well, especially when you give them the tooling and the resources to be like, oh, you saw that really cool thing. Do you want to do something just like it with your friends that's more specific and local and curated to like what you and your friends care about? But I think both of those things are absolutely critical. You need to showcase what success and interest and something compelling looks like in the space, and celebrities will probably continue to hold that space, and then bring some other key community members up with them, and then sort of democratizing that and letting everyone participate and making it easier for other people to take elements of that, like a stamp from participating in the celebrity drop that gets put on their NFTs that they've minted, or whatever the links are to these things. I think there becomes a lot more interesting ways for the celebrity NFTs and the ones that are higher value and are making headlines to really integrate themselves into the community ones that are more community driven and are created by individuals, but all sort of wrapped together with, they maybe followed that celebrity for so much time, or they own a piece of wearable fashion from that celebrity in a different collection, and it shows up on their NFTs. And so there's these ways to really tie them together. And I don't think one is more valuable than the other, but one will certainly sort of continue to drive the legitimacy of the space, and the other will hopefully like really bring the richness to community members that are shipping their own stuff and putting it in showcases to share with their friends and that sort of thing.
Yes, very, very, very insightful conversation with you guys. And then I think everyone here in the audience would also like to see what kind of plans you have later on with your projects, because you already have a lot of success in the industry and more. And then maybe you would also like to know why you guys are planning these kind of plans for your projects. So I will begin with Rangers Protocol and Mixed Marvel, and then later on we'll go with Allison and Lane. So with Rangers Protocol, actually, we started to do our promotions around June, and then finished our investments with all the renowned investors, including Pantera, Framework, Alameda Research, and more. And also later on, we're going to be publishing a master version of our testnet next month, something just like Rigby and Coven. And we will be starting to release our development documentation for developers to start to experience our network. And by the end of the year, we will be publishing our mainnet. So followed by that, next year we will also be doing our integrated development environment to start to lower down the development threshold for developers, and also providing them with a complete tool chain so that they can easily deploy and test applications that are based on Rangers Protocol. So Allison, would you like to go next?
Absolutely. So yeah, I think, in the near term future, I think the most exciting thing that Lane and I am sure are both excited about is over the coming months, we'll be launching our avatar wearable NFT marketplace. Like I said, in partnership with Dapper Labs, very excited to be working with their team on the entire platform and the rollout of everything. And so this will be, a marketplace that will allow users to purchase these avatar wearables for their own Genie avatar. We'll be announcing a bunch of different talent partners, IP partners, brand partners, luxury brands, so forth, that'll be dropping their own avatar wearable NFT collections on this platform for their fans and consumers to collect for their own Genies. Then in tandem with that, we'll also be launching our Genies Creator app. So I think, like I mentioned, this will be the first time that anyone will be able to create their own 3D Genie. And through various integration partnerships, people will be able to leverage their avatars across different social media platforms. One of our bigger partnership integrations is with Jiffy, who's acquired by Facebook, 1 billion users, integrated on Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, most messaging platforms. So people will be able to use their Genie as their own personalized GIF across these platforms. And then I think, like I said earlier, we'll be providing tools within our ecosystem and our app to allow people to kind of democratize the content that they're creating with their avatar, give them the tools to produce this content, and really, leverage their Genie across different platforms eventually, even leveraging different XR type capabilities and things like that. So really, our long-term vision is to kind of democratize these avatar tools, give the power into the user's hands to let them decide how and where they want to use this portable digital identity. And then, like I said earlier, also giving the tools for anyone to create their own avatar wearables and sell in our marketplace. So kind of shifting our, down the line, once we introduce these tools, probably in the next couple years, this will really shift our marketplace from more of a curated, luxury IP type brand marketplace to more of a Amazon or OpenSea model where anyone will be able to create their own brands and, really monetize almost their digital identities that they're, creating themselves.
On the flow side, we are really excited to see monetization of identity and everything that Allison just outlined, the democratization of those tools and like really letting people be their own brands and sharing that with their communities and having that value accrue back to them and being able to create something that gets reused and reshared and shaped in different ecosystems it's going to be so cool. So yeah, what's up next for Dapper Labs is shipping that with Genies, and we're really excited to see it come to life. it's been so nice working with a partner that really appreciates what's most powerful and compelling about these ecosystems and like just really embedding them into the core of the product. So that's been really great to see. Other things that are going live pretty soon here at Dapper Labs. This is live now actually, but I really want to give it a shout out to WNBA. So the women's basketball, they're doing drops now, and it's been really great to see engagement from that community. We have some music stuff going live with TuneGo in the near future. Other sports products, UFC, NFL, and La Liga have all been announced, and we'll be seeing projects from them pretty soon. And in terms of more community projects, there's thousands of developers building on Flow right now, and they're shipping their projects. And there are really great community marketplaces driving that right now, including Vive, Versus, and Rarible. And we're already starting to see lots of different community drops and some of the IP partners that Dapper works with as well, listing assets there. And that's all been part of FlowFest in the last month here, where we're really showcasing the different projects that are available on Flow. So I'd encourage folks to check out FlowFest if they haven't already. It's a great way to sort of dip your toes into the world of NFTs and drops and what's cool in Metaverse stuff. And then in terms of Flow, the blockchain development, we never really have a roadmap for Flow. It's really driven by what the community needs and what people are asking for when they are deciding what's cool. And so based on that, I can tell you that we're definitely going to be seeing a lot of composability features come out of Cadence, the language that is used to program smart contracts on Flow in the coming year. And that'll be directly a result of a lot of the conversation we had today. There's really cool stuff to be done in the Metaverse. There's really cool work to be done combining those standards and defining the ways that they're going to be most interesting interlocking and really generate value for the communities. And so I think we'll see a lot of feature development there, and it'll be really cool to see Cadence expand beyond just defining to our earlier conversation about the importance of ownership here. That language really was designed to make very clear what you do and don't own, and to program with digital value and digital ownership in a way that's really intuitive, and expanding that to also intuit what it means to reuse different code from other parts of the ecosystem and combine it to make your experience more compelling is going to be, I think, a really great on-ramp for more development resources and more great minds to start building in the space. So excited to see that come to life.
Yes, awesome. So we obviously all very much look forward to the future of Metaverse, and we're all developing and promoting, innovating, and more, and to go towards our future. And I hope it will be a very bright one and a successful one. So Alison also earlier mentioned that they're also releasing a common tool set for users to develop their own avatars. So we, Mixed Marvel actually is also publishing an application currently on BSC. It is ranking at the top, and we also enrolled in their most valuable builder program. So next year, we just actually released a new equipment system, and then also a new front page, and we're also constantly upgrading the UI. So what we're going to do next year is also something more similar, that in which we're also going to be release a tool set for developers so that they can start to create more and more gameplays on the hero. And seeing your cooperation, Alison and Lane, with Genesis, Jensen's, and Genies and Dapper Labs, later on after the conference, we can also have a chat together to see how Mixed Marvel and Rangers Protocol can help you guys later on. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this conference, and I hope that I'll hear from you guys soon. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having us, guys. This is great.
Yeah, thanks so much for hosting. Really great to be here. Thanks, folks.